Hello and welcome to What is Happening in Brazil. My name is Pamela Oliveira and this is a show in which our Brasil de Fato team will report on news and fun facts about our country. Let's kick off with our news update.
Brazil's former president, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, declared this week that he will not leave his current situation of incarceration until his full innocence is recognized. The declaration came after the Operation Car Wash prosecutors filed a petition to change Lula's prison conditions from closed to semi-open. In a letter, Lula wrote that the change would harm his dignity because he was convicted without evidence. Questioning the illegalities of the process that brought him to prison, Lula wrote that he should be considered innocent before leaving prison. I want you all to know that I will not accept bargaining my rights and my freedom, the ex-president wrote. I will not rest until truth and justice prevail again. The Free Lula campaign has been holding activities in several cities across Brazil to support the ex-president and expose that his conviction was politically motivated. Lula was imprisoned in April 2018. Ever since, he has received visits from members of social movements and political parties from all over the world, as well as heads of government, intellectuals, and artists who exposed the undemocratic process that ultimately led to his imprisonment. Questions about Brazil's justice system's effectiveness have also been raised after the publication of a new report about land conflicts in Brazil's rural areas. The report, produced by the Pastoral Land Commission, shows that only 8% of the murders in rural areas have been brought to justice in the past 33 years. Only 117 of the nearly 1,500 cases reported between 1985 and 2018 were seen by a judge, a sign of rampant impunity in land conflicts in Brazil. These murders, however, are largely underreported, as many happen in remote areas like the Amazon and large parts of Pará state. Pará has the highest rural murder rate, 724 in 33 years. That's 39% of all murders reported in Brazil's rural areas in the period. Only in 22 cases, suspects were brought to trial. One case in Pará became known all over the world. The Eldorado dos Carajás massacre was the mass killing of 21 landless workers in 1996, when around 60 small farmers were also injured. Only 2 police officers were convicted, but 142 military police officers who were involved in the crime were acquitted. The Landless Workers Movement holds demonstrations every April to honor the martyrs of Eldorado dos Carajás. The date of the massacre, April 17th, became Brazil's National Day of Struggle for Agrarian Reform and the International Day of Peasant Struggles.
Brazil is one of the countries with the highest level of land concentration in the world. Official data show that as few as 2,000 land states combined are larger than 4 million rural properties. The Landless Workers Movement, the MST, was born in the 80s, built by peasants who were fighting to democratize the access to land. Today, the MST fights for land reform, organizing 350,000 families who are camping by roads and unproductive lands across the country. Despite the constant threat, the MST has been resisting and achieving great accomplishments, including becoming the largest organic rice producer in Latin America. The story of the week is about a cooperative that proves that large-scale agroecological farming is possible.
The Capela settlement is located in the south of Brazil, in the small town of Santa Rita, Rio Grande do Sul state. It's one of the 15 agrarian reform settlements that produce organic rice in Brazil.
We started to notice that the people who worked here in the cooperative were being exposed to pesticide poisoning. So we decided to transition to organic. Our motto, and the motto of the movement, is to preserve the environment, produce quality food, and help to provide good health and good food to our families and society.
This year, they expect to yield 16 tons of organic rice. The work is carried out by more than 360 families who are members of the Landless Workers Movement the MST.
The co-op works. We are celebrating 25 years of cooperative in 2019. We have all this structure and people come to us. They come to buy our pork and our rice.
It's so rewarding to know that we are on the right path. This is the path forward for agribusiness and agroecology as well. It is possible to plant large organic rice crops and produce high yield to better support the people in our communities. It's not just the crops, but the organization as a whole that fights for a society that can be a little fairer than capitalist society, which puts profit above all else. But we, on the contrary, value life above all else.
And let's continue the conversation about healthy, pesticide-free food. On this week's Culture Talk, meet Bela Gil. She's a culinarian and TV host here in Brazil who in recent years became an icon of healthy and conscious eating. She's also a vocal critic of the Jair Bolsonaro administration. Bela Gil argues that food and politics are two topics that are completely connected. Check it out.
An act of self-love. That is what cooking means to Bela Gil. The TV host was a teenager when she decided to completely change her eating habits. Since then, she became an advocate for what she calls health-conscious cooking.
When we start to cook, we take on the responsibility for our health and well-being, and we manage to take that with us. If you let your health in the hands of corporations and the food industry, which don't care for your health, that makes it harder for you to stay healthy.
Bela Gil understands that food is the basis of our life, and that is exactly why it's important to see how it's being tackled in politics. Since President Jair Bolsonaro took office in January, his government approved 382 new pesticides in the country. That's more than what the European Union approved in 80 years. On social media, Bela Gil has been an outspoken critic of these and other policies that the government has been pushing. That made a lot of people unfollow her.
People say they feel disappointed, claiming that they follow me for my recipes or to read about food, not politics. But I argue that we must understand that the two things are completely connected. I have to speak out. I have to let people know that their government approved more than 80 new pesticides in just a few weeks, in 1 month. That's my role.
Culinarian also points out that land concentration in Brazil poses an obstacle to a truly democratic food system. Fewer than 1% of rural landowners in Brazil own almost half of the country's rural properties. This is why Bela Gil advocates for land reform and agroecology as essential policies to promote healthy eating, both nutritionally and socially.
I use the kitchen, cooking and eating as a revolutionary act, an act of positive change for people. It changes everything because food pervades everything. So it's about financial, nutritional, environmental, cultural and social change. It's about all that. That is why I can say that my cooking is revolutionary.
Posso dizer que a minha culinária é revolucionária.
Now it's time for you to learn more about our culture. This is Brazilianism.
First, you peel the coconut with a knife. Then, you remove the water from it and put it in the grating machine. After you grate it, you take it to the pan. But first, you are going to want to add sugar, water, and passion fruit. And cook that into a homogeneous mixture before adding the coconut paste. After you do this, you put in the paste. If you want to do this at home, you're gonna 3.5 kilos of grated coconut paste and 1/2 kilo of sugar. Then, you're gonna keep cooking it until it's done. Once it's done, you turn off the stove. So, I place the plastic wrap on the table and start pouring it. 1 portion at a time. Then you just let it dry. You know when it's done because it starts to get heavier and thicker. When you're stirring the pot, you can feel that it's getting thicker. You can feel when it's getting heavier. Now, you can't stop stirring when it's too light or too heavy. You have to find that right spot, so that it will be good for several days, so that you can get the soft cocada. Don't cook it too much, or it will get as hard as a rock after only 3 days.
That's it for today, everyone. I see you next week.